What made you decide to stay? And how did you transition from being in IT to the club scene?
Okay, so when I came back to Ghana, I spoke to a lot of people. I had a couple of friends from back then, a couple of friends that I met through family, a couple of friends that I met through friends. And what I realized was a lot of people had time, man. They had time. You know, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a guy says he's on a lunch break. His lunch break's like an hour and a half. You know, 2 hours. You know, my mom had this restaurant, this place called Headlines Hospitality. Mm-hmm. That's where the initial twist was. Okay. So, and dudes used to come up and just hang out for like an hour, 2 hours. I'm like, fuck, you know, yeah, they might not have a lot of money, or they did have a lot of money. Either way, they had time. And that's what you don't have back in the States. You just don't have time. Your time was for somebody else. And that's when I had a new definition of what success was. Okay. To me, success has to do with, a lot to do with being able to manage your own time. For me, you know, because the time is like the most definitive thing that there is, right? You know, across all planes. So like, they had time. I didn't have time. I made money. I didn't make that much money, but like, I didn't have time. Yeah. My vacation was 14 days. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was on the clock. I'm sure you understand. Yeah. So they had time, yo. You know. So I was like, shit. So that's it. So I started going to this company. I forget the name, and I started building network infrastructures for companies. Mm-hmm. For new buildings that just came up that businesses owned, and I built the network infrastructure for companies. And I used to go to the ministries and this office. I used to go up there and work, right? And I did this contract. I tried working on this contract for about 4 months. It felt like a lifetime to me. And at the end of it all, I made like, my profit margin was like, I think like $600. Right? And watch this, right, $600. And even that they're trying to beat down. And this is for a dude that I knew, like a dude that I knew for, I'm not gonna mention the company name, but everybody knows the company. And it was so funny, and they were like, oh, it's too expensive. So someone else won the bid. And someone else won the bid, right? Yeah. And a month into it, they called me back and said they wanted my design instead because it didn't work. Yeah. And I was like, nah, man, you know what? It's not worth it. And my brother, Raid had this lounge called Twist with my mom. But, you know, he was the face and stuff, and he had been doing it for years, so I can't even take credit for that. He started it. It was their concept. It was their own thing. So I said, all right, cool. I'll just help them in the meantime, you know? And at that time, my brother had stopped doing Twist. He owned a company with another guy, I Create or something. Yeah. Right. So they were doing advertising, bingo, advertising. So digital advertising or something like that, right? It was
traditional advertising.
It was traditional advertising. So anyway, so I took on this project. So Twist was just more like a hobby. But the interesting thing about it was the catalyst that started it all off was because there were a whole bunch of clubs at that time. And I'm not sure if it's right to mention the club's name, but there was this one club in 2010 that was supposed to be like hot, right? And I used to go to the club. And what got me was I didn't have a good time in the club, even though everyone else was having a good time. So it could be a cultural thing, right? Yeah. So I'm exposed to Western life or whatever, and I come back and I'm like, oh, you know, but everyone had a good time. But what I never got about the club was there was no demographic that it focused on. It just focused on money. You know, it was more like, for me, it was more like, as long as you had money, it was cool. As long as you were spending a lot of money, it was cool. But there was no demographic. So it's like, you saw like an older dude who had disposable income, just taking on all the young girls that the younger guy brought. Yeah. Or like, you know, it was just all over the place, but it was just about money. So I was like, nah, you know what? Back in New York, you know, we used to go to 10 June, we used to go to, but it was a focused demographic. So there wasn't any place where a young up and coming guy could go, spend a decent amount of money, not anything extravagant,
Yeah.
and treated like a king, and treated well, and So I was like, all right, cool. My mom's got this thing called Twist, so let me go help out. So I started helping him, and that's how I got in the Twist, the whole idea of running.
Okay.
It wasn't in the club.
Okay.
It was a lounge. I guess you could call it a lounge. It was a place where people it was really relaxed. I remember people used to come in and plug in their own iPods.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the amp, even the system was the amp. I remember back when I was growing up, it was an amp in the living room that I guess my brother and my mom pulled out from the living room in our own house.
Yeah.
And connected in there. So the bookshelf speakers and stuff like that.